You think you're special? You're just another thug!
You made a mistake. Justice fights back.
In the heart of downtown Chicago, where the old Cook County courthouse stood like a sentinel of stone and steel, the air was thick with anticipation on that crisp autumn morning in 2025. The building, a familiar landmark to anyone who'd ever navigated the city's bustling streets, had seen its share of drama's divorces, mob trials, and political scandals, but nothing quite like this. Elena Brooks, a decorated Navy SEAL veteran with skin the color of rich mahogany and eyes that held the steel of battles fought overseas, sat at the witness stand. She was there to testify against a corrupt police force that had terrorized her South Side neighborhood for years. Whispers rippled through the packed gallery. Was this the day the system finally cracked? Or would it swallow her whole, just like it had so many before? The courtroom overflowed with spectators, local residents, journalists tapping away on their phones, and even a few out-of-town activists who'd driven through the night. The scent of stale coffee mixed with the polish on the wooden benches, and every seat was taken, with more people crammed into the aisles. Phones were held high, red recording lights blinking like fireflies, capturing every moment for the world outside. Elena, in her crisp uniform adorned with medals from tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, kept her posture ramrod straight. She'd faced IEDs and ambushes. A courtroom shouldn't break her. But as Sergeant Harlan, a burly cop with a badge that gleamed under the fluorescent lights and a sneer that betrayed his disdain, approached the stand, the tension snapped like a taut wire. "You think you're something special, don't you?" Harlan bellowed, his voice echoing off the oak-paneled walls. He was the defendant in this civil rights case, accused of brutality that had left Elena's community scarred. But he wasn't content with whispers. A Navy SEAL? Huh, you're just another thug in a uniform, pretending to be one of us. His finger jabbed accusingly, spittle flying. The judge, Harlan Vancey, a stern figure with silver hair and a reputation for swift rulings, banged his gavel, calling for order. But Harlan ignored it, lunging forward with a boot that connected squarely with Elena's chest. The crack echoed like a gunshot, sending her chair toppling backward. Blood trickled from her lip as she hit the marble floor. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Phones zoomed in, live streams exploding with comments. Did he just assault her in court? This is insane, keep recording. Judge Vance hammered his gavel again, his face flushing red. Order. I demand order. But the words were lost in the uproar. Harlan straightened, his chest heaving, a triumphant grin splitting his face. See? No one's stopping me. Justice is mine. Elena coughed, wiping blood from her mouth, her muscles coiling like a spring. She rose slowly, deliberately, her eyes locking onto his. The room fell into a hush, anticipation thick as fog over Lake Michigan. "You made a mistake," she said, her voice low and steady, cutting through the silence. In a blur of motion honed from years of elite training, she pivoted and struck a thunderous blow that snapped Harlan's jaw with a sickening crack. He staggered, blood spilling between his fingers, collapsing to the floor. The courtroom detonated into chaos. Cheers mixed with curses, benches scraping as people surged forward. Elena stood over him, pinning his arm behind his back in a practiced hold. "You kicked at justice," she whispered. "Now it grinds you down." The guards rushed in, shackling her wrists and hauling her away amid screams of "she's the victim" and "let her go." But as the doors slammed shut, the world outside had already seen it all. Hashtags like "Justice for Elena" flooded social media, turning a local trial into a national firestorm. Protests erupted on Michigan Avenue, crowds chanting her name under the shadow of the Willis Tower. Networks replayed the footage endlessly, pundits debating, was this self-defense or anarchy? The divide deepened. Some called her a hero, others a vigilante threatening the rule of law. In the holding cell beneath the courthouse, the damp concrete walls closing in, Elena sat unbowed, her split lip throbbing but her gaze fixed on the surveillance camera blinking red in the corner. She knew feeds like this leaked, turning her silence into a statement. Footsteps echoed down the hall, and Agent Derek Lawson stepped into the light. A tall FBI operative with a grim expression and a folder tucked under his arm. "I'm not here to lecture," he said, his Chicago accent thick. "I'm here because this goes deeper than Harlan." He laid the folder on the cot, pages spilling out. Mugshots of black men and women from neighborhoods like Englewood and Austin. Reports stamped, justified despite bruises and unexplained deaths. Each bore Judge Vance's signature. Elena's fists clenched. "He's been covering for killers," she whispered, fury rising. "Turning courtrooms into graveyards." Derek nodded. "Harlan's just the muscle. Vance is the brain. And your strike?" It lit a fuse. But the fuse burned fast. Sarah Klein, a young reporter who'd been live-streaming since dawn, her phone gripped like a lifeline, had been feeding tips to the authorities thinking she could play both sides to protect her career. Her betrayal led Harlan straight to them in the archives, where Elena, Derek, and Sarah uncovered more files. Gas filled the room, choking them as Harlan laughed from the shadows. They escaped through tunnels beneath the city, but the damage was done. Sarah confessed in tears, begging forgiveness. Elena shoved her against the wall. "If you betray us again, I'll end you myself." Above ground, the protests swelled into riots on the streets of the Loop. Harlan, bandaged and raging, stood atop an armored vehicle, bellowing through a loudspeaker. "Disperse or die." Batons swung, tear gas canisters hissed, and the night glowed with Molotov flames. Elena emerged from the shadows, shielding a child from bullets, her own arm grazed. Sarah redeemed herself, refusing Harlan's demand to stab Elena, taking a bullet instead. "Justice, not silence," she gasped, dying in Elena's arms. Grief fueled Elena's roar. Derek charged Harlan, only to fall to Vance's pistol, the judge emerging from the smoke, admitting his decades of buried murders. "I wrote the verdicts," he sneered, files scattering like confessions. Elena fired, ending him on the courthouse steps. But from a helicopter above, Attorney General Victor Lang revealed himself as the true puppet master. "Mercer was disposable," he said, his voice smooth over speakers. "The game continues." The square became a battlefield. Rockets rained down, explosions ripping through crowds. Elena, riddled with bullets, raised her fist in defiance. "Justice bleeds in all of us." She fell, but her image-bloodied fist high-ignited global uprisings. From New York to Los Angeles, streets filled with chants. Lang's empire crumbled under investigations sparked by the leaks. Harlan was arrested, his madness exposed. The system, though scarred, began to reform, with new laws honoring Elena's legacy. In the end, Elena's sacrifice wasn't in vain. Her story forced America to confront its shadows, leading to sweeping reforms in police accountability and judicial oversight. Communities rebuilt, stronger, with her raised fist etched into memorials across Chicago. Justice, once buried, now burned eternal. What do you think about the themes of violence and injustice in this story? Share your opinions in the comments below. Do you believe standing up like Elena is worth the cost? Or is there a better way? Take a stand and let us know your views. Your thoughts could spark important conversations.